Good morning. What's up, InfoWars?
Welcome back to Fox and Friends. We're going to lead with a Fox News alert. A suspected terrorist with ties to Iran allegedly targeted Ivanka Trump for assassination. Sources telling the New York Post that the man behind the plot is the IRGC-trained Iraqi national taken into custody just last week.
The plot against Ivanka reportedly responds to President Trump killing Iranian military chief Qasem Soleimani.
So, let me get this right. Iran just tries to kill the man's daughter. And yesterday they make a deal with Iran. I don't know about any of y'all, but if you come after my family, there is no deal to be made.
A source telling the Post that the suspect, quote, went around telling people we need to kill Ivanka to burn down the house of Trump the way he burned down our house.
Here with reaction is the national correspondent for the Daily Signal, Tony Kinnett. So great to have you out here in Indianapolis, Tony. So this is a really wild story involving this Iraqi national who was arrested last week in Turkey.
Well, this is an individual who's actually been complicit.
Last week, they was playing this like it was yesterday.
Neither the planning or the execution of a number of terror attacks on Jews and Americans around the world, both in New York as well as Amsterdam. He's also suspected of being involved in a couple of attacks in Belgium. So this is an individual we've been looking for a while. He was just arrested in Turkey on May 15th.
And so we're learning, Tony, more a little bit of what this IRGC terror suspect said. He said this as well. I say to the Americans.
So did he try to take her out, or was he just talking about it? Because the way they made it sound like he
look at this picture and know that neither your palaces nor the Secret Service will protect you. We are currently in the stage of surveillance and analysis. I told you our revenge is a matter of time. So, Tony, are we at risk of more
morning
plots?
How you doing, Bob?
I think this is a great case in point of the number of attacks that the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps, that Islamic fundamentalist group, is willing to go to consistently on the calendar, with attacks against Americans, with threats against Americans, both in leadership and general civilian population, with their attacks on churches and synagogues. There is a consistent threat from the Iranian.
Yeah, that's why I had a hard time, InfoWarriors, believing this, because if somebody's trying to take out one of my kids and I'm the president, oh, I'm raining down fire. Hell have no fury, baby.
That goes all the way back past Qasem Soleimani, as you alluded to earlier. And I think these threats are going to continue as long as the IRGC.
Here's the problem, though, InfoWarriors. When he keeps doing that, because clearly that's what he's doing, it gets to a point where nobody believes you, and that shit don't work. And when you're supposed to be the most respected and powerful man in America, people have to believe what you say. And when you say something, you got to stand on it.
Is in any way fungible as an organization.
All right, Tony, I want to move to this because there's some.
If you look at his Truth Social yesterday, he's trolling. He's absolutely 100% trolling. When he puts up a picture of the American flag in Iran, as far as like this, well, I showed you the state of Iran, whatever country Iran, and in the backdrop, welcome to America in the Middle East or whatever.
Big news that happened last night. We learned that Tulsi Gabbard, DNI director, has put in her resignation. And part of it is because, or the reason she says she is resigning is her husband, Abraham, has come down with a rare form of bone cancer. Those of us who know her and her husband, they are the most amazing people.
Good morning,
are heartbroken over this. And yet, I want you to watch this montage of how the Democrats have reacted to this news.
This is the fourth woman to leave the administration in the past few months.
In terms of the impact on U.S. foreign policy, I think it's basically irrelevant. She was entirely out of the loop on decision making.
This was because basically she's just not in sync with this administration. This is why her initials, D&I, became do not invite.
You know, probably one of the worst things that I've read is from Neera Tanden. She's a former Biden official. This is what she said. She said that Tulsi Gabbard violated every principle she ever held as a leftist for power, and out 18 months later, total fraud. I don't know any woman who is more principled in government than Tulsi Gabbard. Why do they have this kind of reaction to a public servant who is facing a very serious health concern for her husband?
It's self-gratifying, right? The social media ecosystem, a lot of the kind of the analysis and punditry sphere is all about getting out and saying the spiciest thing as soon as the news breaks. And it really shows how disgusting a lot of these individuals' characters are revealed to be. The most principled thing you can do as a wife is to leave something behind, as a spouse in general, is to leave your career behind. We've seen this with men and women in the administrations of the world, to take care of their spouses going through a struggle with bone cancer. I mean, the lack of character one must have to make that moment about them and their need to criticize her perceived flaws and her role in the administration is it.
But why are these politicians, though? Because you're raising a good point. Senator Adam Schiff said, his line was like, while the circumstances around her departure are deserving of our sympathy, so they were there.
Yeah.
He, in the same breath, says Tulsi Gabbard's only positive contribution to our nation's national security is her resignation. In the same breath, why the vitriol?
I mean, you have to look back at also her successful military service record alongside her civil service record. It's completely inappropriate. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer did the same thing. He said, we're wishing them well, but as though you need to say anything else. Why do you need to make this moment about
There used to be a time when at least people would take a beat.
Correct.
There is something happening in our politics that is so
it's been
unfortunate and poisonous that even on a day like this, one day later, in fact, some of these remarks were, seconds after she put in the resignation, they don't even take a beat to go, okay, we can criticize her on a different day.
Maybe they should get out and live a little and enjoy life, and maybe come to the Indianapolis 500 and realize and enjoy all of our freedoms the way the rest of America does. Tony Kinnett, so great to see you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Cindy.
You got it.
Be sure to like and
wow. The hell is wrong with people, man?
Gold Peaks.
You think that they attack them like that because they lie so damn much that they think everything else is a lie? I mean, why would you go after somebody whose family's fucking probably not going to be here much longer? Because let's face it, bone cancer, any type of severe cancer like that, whew. Has anybody heard if Russia... I'm just now kind of getting up, moving around, drinking my first cup of coffee this morning. Actually, my second cup. But I'm kind of curious to see if Russia fired that thing last night. Not seeing that. And it would have been front page, I'm sure. Yeah, it seems like that, don't it, cover top? And it's nasty, man. It's fucking nasty. Why do people got to be that way? It's always about spinning a narrative and let's see, they dropped this hour ago on Fox. Yeah, I seen that, Smart Mouth. I hadn't watched the thing about it, but I read the title.
I do think there's some good news on that front, but not final news on that front.
Reports do indicate this current draft includes Iranian commitments related to the country's nuclear program that will be discussed in the weeks ahead. Guys?
So Trey, go ahead.
So Trey, obviously one of the major sticking points of this deal is what happens to that nuclear material that remains in Iran today. What are the viable options for what happens to that?
So a lot of this deal has to do with interpretation. And I want to start with the Strait of Hormuz because Iranian state media is reporting the current agreement says that the return to a pre-war status is not on the table. It is a return to pre-war numbers, an indication that the Iranians see this as their country still controlling the Strait of Hormuz. Then you have the issue of Iran's nuclear program, and we are still awaiting these final details within the agreement, but there are questions about what will happen to that highly enriched uranium that remains inside of Iran, and also the production facilities that allow the Iranian regime to enrich uranium. Remember, the process here starts with the uranium ore that is extracted from the ground. It's then turned into yellow cake through a chemical reaction, and then into hydrofluoride gas that is spun in centrifuges. And those heavier particles go to the outside and the lighter ones stay on the inside. And this process is repeated by the Iranians, and it allows them to create a purer form of highly enriched uranium. The deal, we do not know what it states about the lower levels of that enriched uranium. Remember, in terms of a civilian nuclear program, you're looking at just a few percentage points of highly enriched uranium. The Iranians currently, they say, have around 60% purity, which is very close to weapons grade material. And the understanding, according to reports at this point, is that some of the details as it relates to Iran's nuclear program will still have to be discussed in the weeks ahead.
So let me pick up on that, Trey, because.
So let me ask you something. So what happened to the centrifuge, right? They didn't bomb the damn thing. I know they said they bombed the nuclear dust. If they don't have the centrifuge, what does it matter? If they don't have the capability of making the shit. Something's missing
You're
in that
reporting
story.
about, we do not yet know what the Iranian commitments are, but it appears to me that the commitments actually are what this deal hinges upon, whether or not it will become fruitful. And
Are they really?
Is there anything as we wait to hear about?
They want everything for themselves. They don't give a shit what we go through over here. See, their life is a lot easier as far as financial now. I know they have to walk around with weapons and they're under, attacks a lot and stuff like that. But financially, they live a lot better than we do.
About the enriched uranium, is there any Iranian commitment to simply not pursue a nuclear weapon, which is the fundamental core of what President Trump wants to accomplish?
Reports do indicate that Iran's nuclear program is addressed in this initial draft, the memorandum of understanding that we expect could be signed as early as today. Some of those technical details, though, are quite important. President Trump has been very clear. Iran will never have a nuclear weapon, and he's not going to enter into an agreement with the Iranian regime that allows them a path towards such a weapon. So this is a multifaceted situation that will have to be addressed by U.S. negotiators with the help of Pakistan and other regional countries. The memorandum of understanding that is likely to be signed soon will lay the groundwork for a broader deal. And that deal, according to officials in the region, will ultimately include concessions as it relates to Iran's nuclear program. And again, if President Trump is following through on this commitment, will ensure that Iran never has a path to a nuclear weapon. And again, that includes removing the highly enriched uranium from Iranian territory that was buried in the aftermath of Operation Midnight Hammer. It includes ensuring that Iran does not have the production facilities to further enrich uranium that may remain in the country, and also that broader commitment by the Iranian regime that they will never obtain a nuclear weapon and threaten U.S. forces or allies across the Middle East.
Trey, really quickly, so we understand that as you stated, President Trump's goal in this was no nuclear Iran, and also concerns over the Straits of Hormuz. Israel, our partner in this, had different goals. One of them was regime change. The Jerusalem Post reporting that Netanyahu was sidelined during these peace deals because of that difference in some of their goals. The New York Times reporting once Trump's co-pilot against Iran, Netanyahu now a mere passenger. Can you talk to us about the role of Israel in this deal? Were they sidelined? And also President Trump talked about different people in his own orbit, some wanting a peace deal, others not. We've heard Pompeo, Lindsey Graham, Ted Cruz, expressing a lot of concern about a potential deal, and others in the White House saying that this is a good thing. Just kind of break that down for us about where all this, where all the politics are around the deal.
Yeah, Israeli officials have been largely quiet as the deal progressed because, as one official told me, they are loyal to President Trump and they believe in his judgment as it relates to ensuring that Iran will never have a nuclear weapon or threaten their country are U.S. forces that remain here. One Israeli political source speaking to Fox News today said the United States is updating Israel on the negotiations over a memorandum of understanding for reopening the Strait of Hormuz. The official goes on to say that this includes entering into the negotiations on a final agreement regarding the disputed issues, such as Iran's nuclear program. You know, one official actually pointed out that last month, President Trump posted on Truth Social the song My Way by Frank Sinatra. And they noted that President Trump is going to do this his way because he has the interests of the American people in mind. And he is committed to not dragging the United States into endless wars, but also understands the importance of ensuring that the Iranian regime doesn't have a nuclear weapon and a ballistic missile program that could threaten allies or forces across the region.
All right.
Thank you, Trey.
Live in Tel Aviv. Thank you, Trey.
Be sure to like.
Let's see what I'll.
With YouTube Premium, enjoy ad-free videos, plus the YouTube Music app. One subscription, 2 apps.
More news of a potential US-Iran deal has drawn reactions in Israel. Nida Ibrahim joins us from Ramallah in the occupied West Bank. So, Nida, we understand Donald Trump had a separate phone call with Benjamin Netanyahu on Saturday after speaking with Arab leaders and the Pakistani mediators. Is there a sense that Israel has been frozen out from these final stages of a potential deal between Iran and the US? What's being said there?
Well, Niamh, although the Israeli premier is trying to hide that by tweeting in the past hour or so, confirming the relationship between the U.S. and Israel, saying it remains strong, there's deep skepticism in Israel in Netanyahu's ability to secure Israeli goals in the upcoming deal, with the Israeli newspaper of Ma'ariv saying that Israeli officials saw the draft that is being discussed for a potential deal and they're not happy with it, as it does not tackle Israeli interests when it comes to taking out the highly enriched uranium from Iran and dealing once and for all with Iran's nuclear project. So the word that we can describe what's happening in Israel right now is concern, although reportedly Netanyahu has told his cabinet members, his officials, not to speak publicly, because he needs to be very delicate about how he treats and how he deals with Trump in this sensitive time, given that we're talking about approaching elections and Israel has, and Netanyahu has promised Israelis with lots of victories that he could not fulfill. So we have been taking a dive into Israeli media, and this is part of the reaction that we've been seeing. Let's watch together.
A potential US-Iran agreement is triggering deep concern within Israel's military, as it could bring the war in Lebanon to an end. While the Israeli military has no plans to withdraw from Lebanese territory, its freedom of action could be sharply restricted. President Trump is also expected to be receptive to Tehran's demand to end the war in Lebanon.
So when we talk about Lebanon, there's also another Israeli interest, which is that Israel would still have the ability to strike Lebanese targets and that Lebanon would be excluded from the deal. Now, we don't have any clear reference as to the potential deal, whether it includes a cessation of fire on all fronts, but there's a deep concern in Israel when it comes to Lebanon, especially when we talk about the drone attacks that have been leaving casualties. So all of that, Netanyahu will have to maneuver, will have to really play what he knows well, which is deep politics, manipulation, to try and secure what he can for Israel, even if that means giving Israel a free hand or the ability to strike targets it deems possible if an Iran and US deal was to be signed.
The world's first 360 drone, anti-gravity A1. Exceptional.
We're going to see what's going on with that tank too here in a minute.
System for the 21st century, so that it is an immigration system that's not just good for the America, but it's also good for the people that are coming. Once we are complete and once we've done the work of modernizing that system, I think we're going to come up with a system. We're going to wind up with a system that's more efficient and even better than the previous system, and in some ways may prove to be even more beneficial than the previous system was to people from India that seek to enter the United States to work and innovate. But obviously there's going to be a period of adjustment along the way. So what I want to leave clear is that the changes, while they may be having a disproportionate impact on a place like India that provides so many high-skilled workers to the U.S. economy, it is not a system that is targeted at India. It is one that's being applied globally. But we're in a period of transition, and like any period of transition, there's going to be some bumps on that road. But we think ultimately our destination is going to be a better system, a more efficient system, one that works better than the one that we had in place previously, and more sustainable, by the way.
Your question on the Iran Gulf, the conflict which is going on. Well, look, India would be one of the very few countries who has very good relations, very strong relations with the United States, with Israel, with Iran, and with the Gulf countries. So we have, and we have real interest there. So for us, the challenge in this situation is how to maintain all these relationships, how to protect our equities, how to advance our interests. And we don't look at it as a zero-sum game. We have to manage and actually take care of all these accounts. So having said that, I would say there are some general principles by which we would approach this region. Obviously, we want peace and stability in the region. For us, the welfare, the well-being of the diaspora is crucial. 3, we want to see energy prices go down because we are a very big importer of energy and much of it comes from that region. 4, as I stated in my remarks, we very much are in favor of safe and unimpeded maritime commerce through the region. And what we want to see is really the markets open up there. We don't want to see constraints. So these would be the principles with which we would approach that region. And in a way, of course, every situation is unique. But I think we will find increasingly in the world that there will be conflicts or difficult situations where India, because our interests are growing, we have relationships with all the parties involved. I mean, we are seeing this in the Ukraine conflict as well, where we have, very strong relations with Russia. We have it with Europe. We have it with Ukraine as well. We have it with the United States. And then the question is, how do you manage them, all of them? So in that sense, yes, it is multi-alignment because today's India has that range of interests which require us to manage multiple accounts.
Thank you, sir. Sir, if you allow, we can take a group of questions together.
Sure.
That way we'll be able to cover more. Can we go here, Siddhant, please?
Hi, sir. I'm Siddhant from WION. To Secretary Rubio, my question is on technological partnership. How do you see India as a trusted technological partner? The second question is on energy and critical minerals. Once your visit is over, what will be the key outcomes when it comes to these two aspects? And thirdly, there have been a lot of racist comments coming from United States against Indians, Indian Americans. Now, this goes against the basic premise of India-US relationship. So what's your take on that?
Yeah. What's your third question?
On a lot of comments, racist comments coming from US. That, of course...
Who made those comments?
We all have seen those comments, sir. We have seen endorsement of those comments.
Which ones? I'm...
So it's well known, sir.
Anyway,
yeah.
And
to EM Jaishankar, my question is in terms of the energy partnership. We know that we are importing LNG, we are importing crude from United States, but there is a choke point at the Hormuz. So, what is the future strategy when it comes to cooperation with the United States?
We go this side. Sean from AFP. Sorry.
Thank you. Mr. Secretary, I wanted to ask you about the latest on Iran. The president said yesterday the final details are being worked out on the Iran deal. Can you tell us what the status is now? As you've said many times, it should go back to the status quo ante on the Strait of Hormuz. Are we confident that this deal would do that? And then taking a step back, we've seen from this war, if it's going back to the Strait of Hormuz, we've seen thousands of people dead in Iran and elsewhere. We've seen billions of dollars spent. We've seen some alliances rattled by this, global energy prices rising, global economic shocks. Was this war worth it? And to the External Affairs Minister, you mentioned at the beginning the strategic convergence. Can I just ask you about the Iran war in particular? Was that does that meet the interest of India and also the role of Pakistan? Pakistan's playing a very strong role with the United States right now. Does India have any concerns about that? Thanks very much.
Thank you. We'll take one more question from this side. Vega from WSJ.
Thank you. Secretary Rubio, some of Trump's own allies, Mike Pompeo, Lindsey Graham, and Ted Cruz, are worried that the deal that is taking shape could give Iran access to more money while leaving it with leverage over Hormuz, interfering the nuclear issue.
It's more like hurry up and fucking bite. Hurry
This
up and bite.
is Blue Chew Gold, the ultimate 4-in-1 formula. Built for strength where it counts.
You're hoping to see beyond statements of support.
So we can take these questions.
All right. Do I go first? Or? Yeah. Okay. I don't know how to address that, but I'll take that very seriously about the comments. Look, I'm sure that there are people that have made comments online and other places because every country in the world has stupid people. I'm sure there are stupid people here. There are stupid people in the United States that make dumb comments all the time.
Mr.
I don't know what
Donald,
else
that's
to tell
right.
you other than the United States is a very welcoming country. Our nation has been enriched by people who come to our country, have come from our country from all over the world, have become Americans, have assimilated into our way of life, and have contributed greatly. So that's all I can comment on that.
Hell,
In
we got
regards to
Americans here
Your
that
point,
don't
your second
fucking
question is another
contribute.
question about technology cooperation. Absolutely. One of the reasons why we're such strong strategic allies is because India is a place that's very advanced technologically. You have companies that are on the leading edge of technology in a variety of fields. And you happen to be our ally in terms of country to country. So it is an area of tremendous partnership. It speaks directly to the point that I made a moment ago, and that is you can have an alliance with countries. And we have, we work with countries all over the world on a variety of issues. But there are only a handful of countries in the world where you can actually partner to influence global outcomes. And so India is one of those countries, which is the reason why our strategic alliance is so critical. It's a strategic alliance between two highly capable partners who have industries within our country, private industries within our companies, within our countries that are on the leading edge of some of the top technologies of the 21st century. So it makes all the sense in the world. Two democracies with a lot of pre-existing links with companies that are on the leading edge of cutting edge 21st century technologies, partnering together to make sure that those technologies are not just developing and continuing to lead the world in innovation, but are doing so in a way that furthers our national interest. So that is on that point. On the Iran situation, there'll be, I believe, maybe more news coming out a little bit later today on this topic, and I'll leave it to the president to make further announcements on it. Suffice it to say that some progress has been made, significant progress, although not final progress has been made.
Yeah, I believe you're right,
Here's-
smart mouth.
I
That's
remind
here and
everybody,
now.
I think this ties into the second question that was asked with relations to it. What is the goal here? The goal here ultimately, the ultimate goal is that Iran can never have a nuclear weapon. Iran can never possess a nuclear weapon. The president has been clear about that. They will never possess a nuclear weapon, certainly not as long as Donald Trump is president of the United States. Related to that is this issue of the Straits. Okay, this is an international waterway. They don't own it. It's an international waterway, and what they are doing now is basically they are threatening to destroy commercial vessels using an international waterway. That is illegal under any concept of international law that governs us, but it's also if we allowed that to become normal, we would be normalizing an unacceptable status quo and setting a dangerous precedent.
My bad.
That could be replicated here in this region and in multiple places around the world. So the desire the president has, his preference, is to find a diplomatic way that these problems can be solved. That's always the president's preference. He would much rather have me and the Department of State solve this problem than the Department of War having to solve this problem. But the problem is going to be solved one way or the other. So we've made some progress over the last 48 hours working with our partners in the Gulf region on an outline that could ultimately, if it succeeds, leave us not just with a completely open straits, and I mean open straits without tolls, and with addressing some of the key things that underpin what has been Iran's nuclear weapons ambitions in the past. So we think we've made some progress on the outline of something that, if it works, could give us that outcome. Obviously, that will require full Iranian acceptance and then compliance, and it will require some future work on negotiating the details. When you're talking about a nuclear program, as an example, these are highly technical matters and ones that would probably need to be addressed over some period of time. On the issue of benefits that they could get from it and whatever domestic criticisms there may be, I don't think anyone's been tougher on the Iranian nuclear ambition than President Trump. Understand, okay? Again, I don't know what some of these individual comments have been from different sectors of our politics in the United States, but I will say this: there is no one who has been stronger on this issue than President Trump. Okay? Multiple political leaders, multiple presidents of the United States have all said the same thing: Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. The only one who's tried to do anything and has actually done anything about it in a real way has been President Trump. So his commitment to that principle that they'll never have a nuclear weapon shouldn't be questioned by anybody. And the idea that somehow this president, given everything he's already proven he's willing to do, is going to somehow agree to a deal that ultimately winds up putting Iran in a stronger position when it comes to nuclear ambitions is absurd. That's just not going to happen. But our
Good. I'm glad to hear
address
that.
this through a diplomatic means, and that's what we're endeavoring to do here. I think we've made some progress. I'm always cautious when I say that, because you can agree to things on paper, they actually have to be implemented. You can agree to things in writing, and then you actually have to go out and do it. And but I do think perhaps there is the possibility that over the next few hours, the world will get some good news, at least with regards to the straits and with regards to a process that can ultimately leave us where the president wants us to be, and that is a world that no longer has to be in fear or worry about an Iranian nuclear weapon. And so I do think there's some good news on that front, but not final news on that front. But perhaps a little bit later today we'll have more to say. But you know, some progress has been made. I don't want to.
Bro, that dude's always got something to say about Trump.
I don't want to downplay that, but I also want to caveat it by saying we still have some work to do. We'll see.
We're continuing to listen in here to a joint press conference that was held earlier today featuring Secretary of State Marco Rubio and his counterpart there in India. They are taking questions from the press on a number of global issues. We do have to step away for a brief commercial break, but we'll continue with more of this press conference when we come back.
Somebody in the comments said Israel does not have a formal written constitution. I'd say that's Mr. Trump to him, huh? Let's go check on that tank and see what's going on with that. You know, they trying to bring that temperature down. I don't understand why they ain't brought in a ice blowing machine, you know, like they do when they make snow, and they've got them everywhere. Hell, we got one right here in Jacksonville. I don't understand why they ain't putting chipped ice on that tank. They could bury that thing in ice and it'd bring the temperature way down.
To Southern California and a chemical crisis happening right now. It's because of this, a failing industrial tank filled with an extremely hazardous chemical that's leaking at an aerospace facility and could explode. The governor today declaring a state of emergency. The disaster has forced tens of thousands to evacuate in 6 Orange County cities.
With a hose, right? You could fucking run hoses up to that thing way out in the parking lot, way away from it, and feed the shit out of it and try to cool it down.
Facility also just miles from Disneyland and Knott's Berry Farm. Both are still open on this busy holiday weekend. CBS's Lana Zach begins our coverage at the Emergency Command Center. Lana.
There ain't no damn way I'd be at Disneyland, even if it was outside of the zone. You know, that wind goes to blowing and it starts coming that way, and you got thousands of people at Disneyland. You're not getting out there fast. Fuck that. That's stupid.
Good evening, Jerika. Last night, after believing that they were effectively cooling...
Them kids better get a pad of paper and a pen and draw Disneyland on a fucking... and pretend to be at Disneyland. Close your eyes and envision you at Disneyland.
This tank.
Hurry up and
Today,
go
some
get you some
bad
cotton
news.
candy.
Officials concede their efforts to control the situation are not going as well as they hoped.
Today, Garden Grove is a ghost town. 50,000 residents now under mandatory evacuation orders. Even first responders asked to stay away.
We did put them back in harm's way last night with an attempt to go in and neutralize the additional tank, the 15,000 gallon tank.
We were like so busy packing up. I walked out and then I was like I was about to start driving. And then I realized I'm not even wearing shoes.
Pavel Ramirez evacuated so quickly, he said he didn't realize he was wearing his slippers. We met him outside of an emergency shelter.
I never thought I'd have to do something like this, but I hope it can all be over soon.
His home is just half a mile from the GKN aerospace facility where a tank holding the chemical methyl methacrylate, also known as MMA, threatens to explode.
If the reaction gets going, it causes something that we call a runaway reaction, where it's uncontrollable.
If it does explode, the blast radius could be a mile wide. Local and state officials are trying to cool the tank, but monitoring it by drone, they don't know how effective these efforts really are.
We aren't able to have an accurate internal attempt without someone physically on the ground there.
They also say what may look like toxic vapors outside the tank are not. There is no venting taking place.
There's no venting happening at all?
There's no venting happening at this time.
For residents like Ramirez, there's no telling how long they will be displaced or worse.
I don't know, I'm kind of worried we might not have somewhere to come back home to.
As for nearby Knott's Berry Farm and Disney, officials here tell me that they are far enough away that they are not in danger. And Captain Huang also told me they don't know why this tank failed. They say that is going to be part of an investigation after they get the situation under control, Jerika.
And Lana, for that Ramirez family, any idea how much longer?
I'm just curious to see if they... I know we got one here. It's called Eddie Ice, I believe. I just don't understand why they don't. Ready Ice Machine. They just may not have a video of it on YouTube. I was hoping maybe they kind of did. Anyways, I don't understand why I don't do that. They could blow chipped ice on that tank. I guarantee you, in a couple hours, they could have that whole fucking tank surrounded by ice. And you know good and well it would bring that chemical down. Maybe it would be too fast.
To Southern California and
I don't know. That's crazy, though. They ain't even really been reporting on it this morning. It don't look like. Hours ago. Let's see what they said there.
To Southern California and a chemical crisis happening right now. It's because
Hardee's 2 for $5 breakfast mix and match. Now let you choose the smoked
Knott's
sausage
Berry
biscuit,
Farm.
sausage egg biscuit, biscuit and gravy.
This must have been from overnight. All them fucking campers, man. Guess you could rob the bank right there right now, couldn't you? Well, I know it rained like a son of a bitch around here last night. I left one of my damn drills outside in the rain. That wasn't good. Went out there and the fucking, it's got a battery test on there where you can see how much life's left in the battery. That light was lit up all the way. I was like, oh shit, here we go. We'll be right back. If they tried to get Ivanka, right? They've tried to get him. I don't get that. But then again, I don't understand what's taking him so long. This shit's been going on for a month and a half. It doesn't take that long to put together a deal. A week, yeah, I get. A month and a half, nah. They don't give a fuck what America's got to say. That's evident. That man looks like Jacksonville, almost Florida, somewhere. Burned in a beach. Okay, I know it did. Flagstaff, Arizona.
Time right now is 8:55 on the East Coast and 5:55 in the morning over on the West Coast. My name is Carol Lahara, and I appreciate
I
all
took
of you
the battery
that are
apart,
staying with
bro.
us here at
That's
Live
why I
From
was just
Fox
doing
as we continue
InfoWars.
to bring some of the
I
top
took it all the
stories
way
for
apart.
this Sunday and play
I got
out
one
the
of those
long
blower
content,
fans, and I put
specifically
it on it
when it comes to U.S.
after I took the
Secretary of
battery
State
out
Marco
of the
Rubio.
case,
He
and
is
the
in
light went
India
off.
right now.
It's drying out.
We were supposed to get a live look at a speech that he was going to give at a Freedom 250 event and celebration
Matter
in
of
New
fact,
Delhi.
you turn the
We're
light.
supposed to get that
You
around
turn the light
8:30
on
a.m.
and off on
Eastern
it now.
time. At this moment, we don't have a live look inside of the venue, but
And
we
it'll
expect
go
those
off on its
comments to
own.
get
It
underway
wouldn't do that
shortly,
before them
and once
lights
they
was
do,
shining bright.
we will take them live. Let's stay with some more of what the Secretary of State has been doing on this trip.
Them big
Just before
batteries
the
are
commercial break, I was
expensive, bro.
showcasing a press conference that was held earlier today with Secretary
I'm just gonna
Rubio
let
and
it sit on
also
that
the
blower.
External Affairs Minister of India. They were taking questions from the press, and I'd like to play out the rest of those remarks. Next.
Of State to respond. Manas from this side.
Secretary Rubio, after 25 years of very significant progress.
Oh, it poured
in
around here, the
India-US
cop
ties,
top. That
including
whole
during,
case was
President
full in there.
Trump's first
It was
tenure
shorting out
as
is
the
what it
president,
was.
many in India feel that the relationship has lost the momentum in the last 1 year over issues including tariffs, a more transactional U.S. approach.
That's
and
it. No more
mixed
fucking
signals
red
on
dye for these
Pakistan and
people.
China. So how do you see these views and what is your administration doing to address these concerns about a slide in India-US relations? And to Foreign Minister Jaishankar,
Bro, so
what are
I'm going to tell you the best thing to do is buy them off of Amazon and buy the knockoff ones. I've just got a cheap Craftsman 20-volt set because they bought it for me for my birthday. So I just individually buy pieces for it here and there. But them 6 amp hour, I think that's what it is. Yeah, 6 amp hour batteries. I want to say I paid $49 for 2 of them. You can't go to Home Depot and buy that. Now, they don't say Craftsman on them, but I've had them for fucking 2 years. Hell, I bought a Craftsman weed eater. I use them on
Trump
that.
administration at this stage of the relationship when we are also facing the consequences of conflicts, geopolitical headwinds, especially on our energy security.
Reza.
Thank you for doing this. Question for Secretary Rubio. Here, Secretary Rubio.
The noble right says comply. The people say aye.
Bro, check out the knockoff ones on Amazon. They're the same thing. I promise they are. I've opened up a bunch of these batteries, and it doesn't matter who makes what. Them batteries are all the same.
That military leadership's
A
links with
lithium-ion battery is a
terrorism and also with
lithium-ion
regional
battery.
instability. How would you reassure India that this new engagement is not at India's expense? And a question for the External Affairs Minister. I know you've kind of touched on this, but the Quad came together and positioned itself as a platform for coordination between 4 maritime democracies to work on the delivery of public goods across the Indo-Pacific. How much is this
that
still
price
relevant
difference, you
with
just
the
can't
Trump
beat them,
administration?
in my opinion.
We go the other side. Tom from BBC.
Thank you very much.
Not the
Tom
BBC.
Bateman from the BBC. Mr. Secretary,
Big
there's a lot
black
of
cock.
attention at the moment
Hell
on how to
yeah.
end this war, but
You know
there
what
is
they talking
continued
about this morning?
scrutiny on
All right, I
the way
want
it
to watch these
began.
fuckers.
Now, it was
Well, news of a potential US-Iran deal has drawn reactions in Israel.
I think it's going to be hard to come to a deal with us trying to carry another country just because they wanted different shit than we want. And it's hard to please a lot of different people, man. We're going to have to take away from that shit. We should never go into a war with another country at the same time. Now, going in to help them do something or something, I can kind of see that. But a joint strategy from the beginning, that shit, that's not going to work. Let's see what's going on. We just kind of fucking kicking it around. Oh, shit. Let's see what this motherfucker here got to say. Happy birthday, asshole. Oh, shit. Yeah, see, Iran's trolling right now. They just released something on X saying, let me see what it says here. I'll read it. Y'all, I ain't going to go through the time of pulling it up on X, but I'll load up, you dumbass. Iran officials says Iran has not agreed to hand over its highly enriched uranium, despite several U.S. media reports. Well, fuck. We already knew that. They're going to, the only way you're going to fucking do anything with Iran is go over and just wipe them off the fucking map. Damn. Oh, slayback's over there. Hey, Diane, how you doing? I don't know if I said hey to you or not already, but if I didn't, good morning.
Happy birthday, you. Happy birthday, you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday.
This motherfucker's an idiot.
You and many more yous, allegedly.
All right, thanks for tuning in. We're approaching the last couple days. May 28th, the final episode drops. Then all the trolling on him is going to stop. And we're moving right along to the next project. We hope you guys stick around and see what we got going on. So this is just some of my favorite trolls that I've done since this started. They're kind of like a best of troll compilation. So hope you guys enjoy. You'll see a bunch of stuff I've already posted and maybe a couple new things.
Hey, Cracker, is your fucking
what
truss
better
cut
day to
damn near
release
through in
this
this
than on
fucking
his
garage?
birthday?
You
So
probably ought
this
to
is for
do
you.
something
Happy-
about that. It looked like somebody took a fucking sawzall and cut that fucking truss damn near in half.
birthday, face.
What is going on? All right, we're about to go downtown Nashville. It's raining, but it. We've been putting a bunch of yard signs up. Well, damn. Well, damn. Well, damn. Well, damn. Well, damn. Been downtown Nashville, all around Nashville, Ashland City, where people come to get gas. Maybe they'll go check out the documentary. You know what I mean? Well, damn. We're going to go hang out on Broadway for a little bit and see if we can't spark up some interactions for some folks.
He's went all in, ain't he? For sure. That fucking music to me sucks.
My money is gone and soon will be my home. I just lost the Rodney case. Those aren't mess.
I don't get that, man.
Just bug bites that cover the side of my.
Listen, making fun of him is one thing, but being happy that a man's fucking gonna lose his house. There's a fucking kid involved, you know. I don't get that. You know, maybe it's just I think it's in poor taste. Maybe, I guess, I don't know.
I tried to take down Chad, but it made him really mad, and he trolled me like I never been trolled before. I used to be.
Bro, you're bragging. You had plenty of opportunity to go at this guy if he fucked you the first time and you never said nothing and you just waited till everybody else piled on him. I don't know what you're acting so happy about. I don't get it.
Be a millionaire, now I'm about to be dirt fucking poor.
That shit fucks with your vocal cords, British Bulldog.
1, 2, 3, 4.
What's up, Josh? Good morning.
Money is gone. I just lost my home. I just lost the Rodney case. All my money is gone.
Hey, how wild is it though to think that he could have escaped that shit for $300,000 and didn't fucking do it? He didn't have, and Chad was around at this time. So, I mean, I don't know what he's bragging about. It sounds like he's failed as a manager, right? $300,000, and you didn't fucking talk him into doing it.
Case, in my opinion, allegedly.
Yeah, me either, bro. That's exactly why I can't, because that shit's just crazy to me.
You don't know what I'm talking about, do you? Look at me. You got to get you one of these. One of these. What, a pen? It's not a fucking pen. A lot of motherfuckers in the past 4
Because in all reality, nobody'd know who most of us, me included, without this dude. You know what I mean? It's just fucking stupid.
years thought it was a fucking pen.
You see this right here? You thought I'd just walk around the last 4 years with a game controller in my hand. You thought I was just over here playing these games. You see that? That's a damn camera. Huh, I've carried it everywhere I've been for 4 years.
Can you believe there are people out there that think I'm getting paid to do all this? Like, who would pay me? I'm doing this because I want to. Dumbass.
No, the way you're going to get paid is because you're drawing people to your channel. Never mind. You know how the fuck you plan on recouping some of your money from this. It may not be directly this, but you know what you're doing.
That's wild.
You done monetized your channel, and I've seen you fucking turn the monetization on, Chad.
I'll see you if you hit me. Last time this motherfucker went riding with me, he wore a goddamn bubble helmet. Some Jetson looking ass shit.
No, he's had InfoWars. I'm going to tell you what it is. Every one of these dudes were trying to keep other people away from him so they couldn't get what they thought that they could get from Ryan. So they started all this fucking back and forth and manipulating him and fucking feeding him a bunch of bullshit, and it fucking spiraled out of control. Look, and it, believe it or not, it started. They did the same thing to Johnny Cashville. How to get him out of there. That way he couldn't, you know, try to keep a handle on him. No, you can't, Copper Top. You can't. Now, I'm not saying that Ryan's right by any means necessary. But look, that Harley that he's riding, Ryan bought that. Ryan bought that. And to me, if I was that upset with a dude and didn't want nothing to do with him, I couldn't fucking ride or live or anything from him. I would have gave that shit back to him and said, you know what? But that's the difference in being a man. In my opinion now, that's just how I see things. He was more than happy to take that shit.
You know what's going on? You acting all weird. Well, no shit. Let me let you in on a little speck of my life. See this big fucking huge house right here? Did you know that I bought this house?
What's wrong with you, bro? What's going on? You acting all weird. Oh, shit. So let me let you in on a little speck of my life. See
this
this
is
big, huge
unnear.
fucking house right here? Did you know I bought this house and didn't know about
Yeah,
it?
exactly. Exactly. So I'm kind of glad they're posting this shit, because anybody with any kind of brain that ain't all fucked up sees what happened.
Fallout Boy!
Well, hello, partner. I heard you want to support the cause. Well, buy a 50-year-old Fallout Boy shirt through Cash App or Venmo, 25 shipping.
Yeah.
Pre-orders.
Oh, no, Chad, you're not making any money from it. You're not making any money from it. But you're posting your fucking Cash App. How stupid can you fucking be, man?
Yeah, brother.
50-year-old Fallout Boy.
What a fucking moron.
Hello? What's up, dude?
From this point forward, ain't no negative shit coming out of my mouth.
Honestly, I didn't expect you to call this quick. Yeah, I know. You thought it would ruin my life. Yeah, I know. You're a liar. We all know that, yeah. No, actually, it's given me a lot of opportunities. Yeah.
But I thought you didn't do it for the money, Chad. You didn't. You can't make this shit up. I swear you can't.
People call me, want me to book and manage them again. Yeah. Yeah. No, I know. I wrote those songs. You're right. Yeah. Yeah, I came up with most of those ideas too. Yeah. Yeah, you really don't
Morning,
have a creative
Tracy.
bone in your body. That's true too. All right, man. Well, if it gets too much for you, just holler. Bye.
Yeah, right. Info Warriors. Yeah, exactly. Give him his fucking house back. Give him his motorcycle back. You really want to cut ties with him, but they won't do that. And I know some people agree, some won't. But it's just, I totally understand why Ryan don't trust no fucking body.
Chad looked like he belonged on the bottom of a cheap skateboard.
Well, all right, let's go again. Get your cheap skateboard with Chad Offbeat on the bottom right now. Available for pre-order.
I'll be right back, y'all. Give me
Dude,
just a second.
I'm going to do a self-experiment, bro.
From this point forward, ain't no negative shit coming out of my mouth. Anybody that's got ill will towards me, not even intentional. And I'm just going to keep up on this good side that I woke up on.
Everybody thinks this is a fucking joke. They're like, oh, I'm just crazy. He ain't talking to the cops. Yes, the fuck I am. What do you think I caught Daryl at my house this morning?
Damn, you can't hardly hear that shit.
What's taking so long? Why don't you just drop it? What you don't understand is it's gonna take a long time to edit it. But I'm doing it. You just gotta be
Oh, I
patient.
turned it way down.
So I know I've caught this guy lying multiple times, and I proved it to you with video evidence. But you know what? Let's do one more just for shits and giggles.
Is Chelsea here? And the reason why I just showed you guys that house that Mr. Chelsea was renting is because there's something weird with that place. First off, the motherfucker don't tell none of us about it. Hey, can Kalani stay at that place in Pigram or whatever? Because I just don't want any. I don't want to have any fucking ways you can be like, well, there's other people in the house.
You dumbass. Well, all right, that's going to conclude the best of troll videos. Now, there's a whole lot of troll videos I never even shared, probably for good reason. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Oh, and by the way, tonight we'll be doing a live on our YouTube, bringing in some guests, maybe like Chill Rock or Gotcha Man. Who knows who's going to stop by? Maybe we'll even have a hater or two on the live. But I appreciate y'all. And
I don't care.
I'll see y'all tonight in a few hours.
That ain't Jacksonville.
Happy birthday, fucker. We'll see you guys soon. We'll see you soon.
I knew he wasn't in Jacksonville. He can't afford to stay there. It's $250 to $350 a night in Jacksonville. Especially on a weekend like this, you can't get a place. Every time he fires up his camera, he tells lies. Who are you talking about, Slayback? Which one? Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. He's a fucking idiot. But whatever. It's not hard to ride down the middle of the interstate and take a picture. You know what I mean? Whatever. I agree, brother. I agree. Good morning. Old Rocco. Bro, it fucking... I'm talking about, I was knocked dead out about midnight and the whole place shook. I was like, holy shit. I woke up and all you could hear, every time the thunder would hit, this place would shake. It was pretty bad.
DNI Tulsi Gabbard resigned yesterday, and the internet immediately exploded with lies about how she was forced to resign for opposing the president's actions in Iran. This was a psyop led by Reuters, the favorite dumping ground for British intelligence in its war against President Trump and his movement. Not far behind, members of the U.S. Senate staged a hissy fit about the president's plan to create a compensation fund for the victims.
When you go on vacation and you have to take pictures, certain angles, so nobody can't tell where you're at, is that really a vacation? I mean, I wouldn't give a fuck if somebody knew where I was at.
Of deep state lawfare.
Whatever.
According to The Hill, they screamed at Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche for 2 hours and then left D.C. with key legislation in limbo. Earlier in the day, Kevin Warsh had been sworn in as the new Fed chair, promising regime change. All of these events are related and the result from one fundamental action. Donald Trump is engaged in dismantling, one by one, the control points which the modern British financial empire have used to control our country. The rogue intelligence
why are they so worried about
the compromised U.S. Senate, and
why are they so worried about the
Federal
British?
Reserve?
get
I'm Barbara
that.
Boyd, and I've followed the hostile takeover of the United States by the financiers of the modern British financial empire ever since Richard Nixon ended the Bretton Woods monetary system and the Trilateral Commission began our nation's managed decline. Today, I'll cover Tulsi's resignation, the Senate revolt, and the revolution at the Federal Reserve and the Treasury Department. When you clear away the side war, you can see why the propaganda is so thick now. Donald Trump is over target.
I'll tell you what, I'll be around that area here in about, I don't know, 2 weeks. I bet you I post exactly where I'm at.
And he's winning. But before we get started, please hit the like button and share this video. It increases our reach on YouTube.
Never listen
Now,
to
the
somebody with
real
a
story
speech
about
impediment
Tulsi
like that.
Gabbard. Yesterday morning, Tulsi walked into the Oval Office and personally handed President Trump her resignation letter. Her husband, Abraham Williams, has just been diagnosed with an extremely rare form of bone cancer. Here's what she wrote. He faces major challenges in the coming weeks and months. At this time, I must step away from service to be by his side and fully support him through his battles. I cannot, in good conscience, ask him to face this fight alone while I continue in this demanding and time-consuming position. Her resignation is effective June 30th.
Shout out to her,
President
man.
Trump praised her publicly on Truth Social and
out
said
to
she
her.
had done an incredible job. That is what happened. A wife stepped away to care for a husband facing his
Hey,
mortality.
I've made that mistake before.
Within hours, Reuters published that the White House had fired Gabbard. that
Hey,
her
I'd be fishing in spots for years and nobody ever fucking be there. And you post a picture of it on social media, and then next weekend you look, there's fucking 15 boats up in there. Like, holy shit.
Her departure was a, quote, victory for the intelligence community, and the internet exploded on that theme. Why? Because the stay
I
behind
really
deep
don't
state
give a
here
fuck about
and
like
British
that, dude. Like that. I really don't, Nickel G. Now, if I bumped into him somewheres, that'd be one thing. But as far as going to his page and commenting and all, I just don't give a fuck. If you ain't figured out that dude's a piece of shit liar by now, you never will.
intelligence have been gunning for
All
her
you
for
do
over
by
a year, and they
going
could
over
not
there and
bag
looking
her.
at everything he
They
does
planted
is
fake
support him,
stories. She had been
regardless if
banned
you
from
realize
Iran
that or
war
not.
deliberations. She was planning to run for president in 2028. She was scheming against the president. They surrounded her with fake people like Joe
I
Kent
knew that
to claim that
motherfucker wasn't in
Netanyahu
Jacksonville.
and Israel ran
Ask
Trump.
him why he commented on my shit and then deleted it.
It was an operation designed to poison her relationship with the president and split the MAGA coalition
That dude's a
ahead of the
pussy.
midterms. And
All he
rogue
wants to
elements
do
of
is
the
fuck with
CIA and
somebody
the
he
Senate
thinks that he knows he can get over on. If it's somebody that's a fucking real challenge, he ain't gonna do that shit. He's calling 911. That was a quick way to go to fucking jail.
Intelligence Committee kept firing at her. Catherine Herridge, one of the very few real investigative reporters left in this country, writes that the CIA had been tracking
No
every
shit,
keystroke
Levi.
on the government computers of
Unless you
Gabbard's
be Millie.
Directors
And
Initiatives
then it's
Group.
fake.
This
It's
push
hacked.
inside the IC was to disband, dismantle, or diminish the impact of the dig and its work.
Set in particular has both SAE and metric, and you even get a regular and deep socket of each size.
This is the 65 piece. Our metric starts at 10 millimeter, goes all the way up to 24 millimeter. No
That ain't
skids,
big
got
enough.
deep and shallow well. 3/8 all the way up to 1.25 inch deep and shallow well on those. A nice 1/2 inch ratchet. We got 3-inch, 5-inch, and 10-inch extensions. We also have a swivel adapter. We have these adapters that goes from 3/8 to 1/2 inch, and then 1/2 inch to 3/8. It's a very nice set. Great price. You want to grab it? It's linked
Yeah, that'd be a nice set if it went up a little higher, but
And what was the dig actually doing in all of this? Well, Tulsi kept her own counsel and kept producing the goods, the declassifications, which will result in prosecutions. Her work proved that Russiagate was a coordinated hoax between Barack Obama and British intelligence. Disclosures now sitting before a grand jury in Florida. She is exposing the deep state conspiracy used to impeach President Trump in 2019 and the election rigging of 2020. She is investigating Havana syndrome and the directed energy attacks the agencies have spent 4 years burying. She was devastatingly effective, and all of her investigations will see the light of day before she leaves office. They didn't bag her. A real-life family crisis did. But they have shown to everyone their truly rotten face by claiming victory for the intelligence community as Tulsi's husband begins cancer treatment. Here's my test for any new DNI appointment. Under Biden, the CIA and Britain's MI6 were completely integrated, fused operationally, as discussed openly by both services in this Financial Times forum. Is that corrupt and globalist arrangement still operating? If it is, the war against this administration continues by exactly the methods used against Tulsi Gabbard. Now, if I just helped you gain some clarity about the nature of the war we're fighting, you need to subscribe to our free newsletter at PrometheanAction.com. There's more of this there. The link is in the description. Now, what about the rotten Senate? Well, last week, the Rhino Senate is staged what the press called a revolt. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche went up to the
So
Hill
have they
to brief
said,
senators
have
on
they,
the president's
has anybody
1.
gave it a reason why that dude even did what he did yesterday? Was there any kind of letter that's came out or any kind of information on that anybody knows anything about?
$776 billion anti-weaponization fund
What makes a
established from
man
Trump's
just give
settlement
his
of the
fucking
IRS leaked
from-
tax returns lawsuit
or
he
was he
brought.
just a
It is
call?
designed to compensate Americans destroyed by the Obama-Biden lawfare machine. The senators screamed at Blanche for 2 hours and walked out, leaving Washington and key legislation in limbo. Senator Tom Tillis called the fund stupid. President Trump answered him tellingly on Truth Social. Now he can have all the fun he wants for a few months with some of his rhino friends screwing the Republican Party. In the end, it will only get bigger and better and stronger than ever before. The rhinos picked a fight with a bear using a short stick. Just look at what just happened. Trump evicted Rhino Bill Cassidy from the Senate by running a primary candidate against him who won in Louisiana. He refused to endorse Rhino Cornyn and threw his weight behind Ken Paxton in Texas. He told Rhino Tom Tillis to his face he would never endorse him again and Tillis quit rather than face a Trump primary.
What?
And on Tuesday, Trump endorsed candidate Ed Gallerin crushed renegade Congressman Thomas Massey in Kentucky in the most expensive House race primary in history. The president just proved he still holds the MAGA base despite every psyop and every fake poll thrown at him. The do-nothings see the handwriting on the wall. That is why they're screaming at Todd Blanche. Do they really believe the January 6th defendants who were illegally convicted don't deserve compensation? The abortion protesters, the Catholic parishioners surveilled because they attended Latin Mass? Or is that compensation for the victims of lawfare opening an evidentiary record, and that record will eventually walk through the front door of the United States Senate, which kept Russiagate alive long after it was known to be a hoax? The Senate is compromised. Trump will pay a short-term price for taking on these senators. They will obstruct his agenda openly now, but he is already looking past them to the midterms, when the American people will deliver the vote of confidence that shocks the DC mandarins back into reality and creates
Well,
the
see, I
maneuvering
don't know
room
about
for
that,
Trump's
sweetheart.
economic revolution. And Kevin Warsh's
American
plans for the
people are
Fed
hurting, and
and Scott
it's,
Bessent's action at Treasury show he is
the American people are hurting, and it's hard to fucking get people to back somebody that they feel is responsible for it. Let's just be honest now. I mean, I understand you're all on Trump.
implementing an economic
I
plan
think Trump
which
trying
doesn't
to do the
depend
right
on the
thing, but
Fed or the Congress. Now, Kevin Warsh was
bad
sworn in
timing.
as the 17th chairman of the Federal Reserve also on Friday, not at the Eccles building where recent Fed chairs took their oaths, but at the White House in the East Room by Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, standing next to
Yeah,
President Donald
I wonder
J.
if
Trump.
Hookstead's
Here's President
dropped
Trump
anything this morning.
yesterday.
Thankfully, unlike some of his predecessors, Kevin understands that when the economy is booming, it is that's a good thing. We don't have to go crazy. Just let it boom. We want it to boom. We want it to be like nobody has ever had before, because we do have some debt we'd like to take care of. And the way you do that is through growth. We're going to grow our way out of it so fast. And Kevin's somebody, and I feel strongly also, we don't want to see it stifled. We want to stop inflation, but we don't want to stop greatness.
And here's Warsh talking about his plans for the Fed on Fox.
Interest rate cuts are a first step to what I've said for a decade is regime change that's necessary at the Federal Reserve. That means regime change in how we're thinking about inflation, how we're conducting policy, how we're communicating. It's also regime change in terms of how we're supervising and regulating banks. Just to give you one little example, the Fed right now is carrying almost a $7 trillion balance sheet, Brett. That's like emergency liquidity for Wall Street. Well, no surprise, Wall Street's doing great. Main Street's not doing as well. So what we can do is shrink the size of the balance sheet in coordination with the Treasury and cut interest rates on Main Street. We'll have a stronger economy as part of a comprehensive reform package at the Fed.
In his Senate confirmation testimony, Warsh spelled out his regime change plan. He singled out the Fed's balance sheet, the Fed's $6.5 trillion portfolio of Treasury bonds and mortgage-backed securities as the chief offender in creating our recent economic pain and inflation. The new Fed chairman is saying the institution he now runs has spent 15 years enriching London, Brussels, and Wall Street at the expense of working Americans, and he is going to stop it. Walsh describes a 40-year experiment in which the Fed massively expanded its role, its balance sheet, captured bank supervision, dabbled in climate and DEI mandates, and printed trillions to bear out international asset holders, all under the banner of so-called independence. That experiment is over. He proposes to shrink the balance sheet, shrink the Fed, while making it competent in its economics, discarding the models which somehow missed the biggest inflation in modern history under Joe Biden. He also proposes a new accord between the Treasury and the Fed. The last one was signed in 1951. It separated the Fed from the Treasury after World War II and set it on its current trajectory as a supposedly independent body coordinating with central banks abroad rather than with the elected government at home. But shrinking the Fed, London's control point on the U.S. economy, is only part of the story here. The Trump administration, working with Treasury, is building a real American credit system inside the executive branch, outside the purview of either the Fed or Congress. A few examples. At the Department of War, the Pentagon has taken a $400 million preferred equity stake in MP Materials, the only major American rare earth producer
Hold on, let me,
to break.
Damn, where the fuck did it go? Hold on, I got something here. Let me, damn, it done came off the scene. So the IRGC has put some, I don't know, Barry. The IRGC has said something. So something's not lining up, y'all. Something's not lining up. Let me share this instead. Any new attacks on Iran will trigger a much bigger war. We are a people of war. Our power will be seen on the battlefield. This was posted 2 hours ago. So something's not lining up. Something is not lining up. Let's hit our search filters. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. No doubt, Bubba. Shit. Let's go down here. Open source wasn't really saying nothing. Yeah, they just posted the same shit we just watched. They just posted that 2 minutes ago, but we already know that. Why would fucking Iran say anything like that? You know what I mean? Unless something was brewing behind the scenes that they're worried about. I think this is what Hookstead was playing yesterday. That's diabolical, man. That's diabolical to have the fucking kill thing as a heart. Oh, man. Let's see what Nick's saying. So can we get Democrats or to So there was 2 fucking shootings yesterday? Or am I missing something?
Who is very good with guns and can plan things very well.
So it sounds like what you're telling me, Steve, is that as investigators look into potential suspects and people that may do harm, that there's some sort of threshold that they're measuring against about that individual's ability to actually act upon those threats?
Yeah, there really is. That's part of the threat matrix. If you have somebody who is say institutionalized and says every day, I'm going to go get a gun and kill the president. What we're worried about is the person who's a sociopath who is very good with guns and can plan things very well.
So it sounds like what you're telling me, Steve, is that as investigators look into potential suspects and people that may do harm, that there's some sort of threshold that they're measuring against about that individual's ability to actually act upon those threats?
Yeah, there really is. That's part of the threat matrix. If you have somebody who is say institutionalized and says every day, I'm going to go get a gun and kill the president. What we're worried about is the person who's a sociopath who is very good with guns and can plan things.
Right here. So was there 2 attempts yesterday or what? Look like a fucking weirdo. Look. Let's see what this dude's got to say.
The war in Ukraine started in February 2022. This war has been going on for over 4 years. Most people do not understand what is happening because the news footage we see has been filtered and censored. I have obtained footage of war crimes happening on the front lines in Ukraine, and it is going to shock you.
Oh, I guarantee it, baby. Lots of baking soda. Lots of baking soda.
Because this is on YouTube, I'm going to blur the footage and explain to you what is happening. If you want to see the uncensored footage, I've uploaded the full 5-minute video on my website, wolvesandfinance.com, for members only. It is behind the paywall because I don't want to just put violent footage on the internet for everyone to access. Let me give you a warning. This footage is extremely graphic, violent, and bloody. This is life on the front lines of the Ukraine war. What you are about to see are war crimes committed by Ukrainian soldiers against Russian prisoners of war. Now, I'm blurring the video, but just so you know, this video is crystal clear. It looks like it was taken on a cell phone camera. You can see the faces of the Russian soldiers as they are dying. You can see the faces of the Ukrainian soldiers. It is clear which side they are on because Ukrainian soldiers wear light blue or yellow armbands and Russian soldiers wear red or white armbands. I apologize to the families of these Russian prisoners for showing such graphic footage of their loved ones. But if this was my family member, I would like to know what happened to them. I'm not going to reveal my source of how I got this footage, but I've done due diligence and this comes from a credible source. I believe this is real footage from the front lines of the war. I know some people have released fake footage in the past, but if you watch the uncensored footage, I don't see how this could have been faked. So let us go to the footage. The footage is dated April 27th, 2022. The footage was either filmed on that date or shortly before then. This was at the beginning of the Ukraine war. We see a group of Russian prisoners on the ground surrounded by the Ukrainian soldiers. The Russians are tied up, they are wounded and shot. Some of them are surrounded by pools of blood. It looks like some of them are dying. One prisoner clearly has a broken leg because it is laying the wrong direction from his body. The Ukrainians are questioning the prisoners. According to my translation, they are asking, "Are there any officers?" When the prisoners do not answer, the Ukrainians shoot 3 Russian prisoners in the leg. These Russians are clearly unarmed. They are tied up. This is not a combat situation. This is not a matter of self-defense. The Ukrainians are shooting prisoners of war, and they're doing it to get them to answer questions. Again, the footage is crystal clear. You can see every.
Here's my problem with that, right? You come over in my fucking area trying to kill me. If I disarm you, it's a fucking wrap. What happens, happens. Don't come fucking with me thinking that you're going to take me out. And just because I've disarmed you, now all of a sudden you're not fair game. Nah, it's war, bitch. The fuck these people think, man. That's exactly why we're in the situation we're in now.
One's faces, it is pretty obvious what is going on. If you want to see the full 5-minute uncensored video, it is available on my website, wolvesandfinance.com.
Exactly, Cop Top.
This is convincing evidence of war crimes by Ukraine. Violence against prisoners of war is one of the highest categories of war crimes. Article 13 of the Geneva Convention states,
listen, they both fight wars with drones, right? So when the soldiers lay in there and then they blow them up with a drone, it's the same fucking thing.
Prisoners of war must at all times be humanely treated. Any unlawful act or omission by the detaining power causing death or seriously endangering the health of a prisoner of war in its custody is prohibited and will be regarded as a serious breach of the present convention. This is a fundamental concept that almost every country on earth has agreed to. When you take prisoners in war, you agree to take care of them, because that means the other side will take care of your soldiers when they become prisoners.
These motherfuckers.
This game, you're not ready for.
Don't put a weapon in your hand then. Once you take up that weapon and start firing bullets, it's over, man.
What we see in this video is Ukraine ignoring the Geneva Convention. Not just shooting one prisoner, but 3 prisoners. And it's not a mistake. They were not trying to escape. They were not fighting back. They were shot for the insane reason of trying to get information from them. This is an outrageous level of cruelty. Let me be clear. I am not.
Yeah, that's how wars are fought, bro. What's any different than that than putting a motherfucker in a water torture chamber or whatever, doing water torture to them? We've tortured prisoners forever.
Taking Russia's side in the war. I've made plenty of videos in the past that are very anti-Russia, but we cannot ignore what this video is showing us.
What's up, Joe?
How many times has Ukraine done this? Are there atrocities happening on both sides of this war? Let me put this video in the context of what was happening at the time. Russia invaded Ukraine in February 2022. Most people forget that Russia almost won in the first 2 months of the war. Here's a map from March 9th. You can see that Russia had advanced almost all the way to the capital city of Kiev. This was Russia's strategy. Invade Ukraine so quickly that the war was going to be over in 2 months. Unfortunately for Russia, the U.S. immediately got involved. Within the first month, the U.S. was already providing military equipment to Ukraine, and Ukraine was able to push Russia back. Russia moved their forces back, and for the last 4 years, Russia has held areas in Ukraine along the border. Right next to Kiev are the towns of Bucha and Irpin. As Russia withdrew from these areas, people were shocked at the devastation they left behind. There was evidence of rapes, execution of civilians, mass graves, and torture. staff from Human Rights Watch were on the ground collecting evidence of Russian war crimes.
I'm here in the Ukrainian city of Bucha, where we're documenting violations of the laws of war and apparent war crimes perpetrated by Russian forces.
Damn, look at that old fucking motor right there.
They recently left the city, and in the days that followed, we've been here combing through the evidence, talking to witnesses and victims about what happened here. The streets of Bucha are littered with evidence of violations and apparent war crimes.
Human Rights Watch reported that in the first 2 months of the war, Russia killed 900 Ukrainian citizens across the Kiev region. So this is the context of the video on April 27th, 2022. These Ukrainian soldiers were hearing these reports of Russian atrocities, including rapes and executions in Bucha and Irpin.
Sounds like
they
it
were
was
all
done in good
fired
deal to
up
me.
for revenge. They captured these Russian prisoners and they shot them in the leg. Here's the problem. We do not want soldiers taking out their aggressions on unarmed prisoners. I am showing you crystal clear video footage of what these Ukrainian soldiers did. In contrast, there's no footage like this of the atrocities at Bucha and Irpin. That's not to say they did not happen, but it is possible that the stories have been exaggerated. Russia denies that they were involved in any war crimes. Guess who funds Human Rights Watch?
First of all, it's a cause that I believe in very strongly. And secondly, it's an organization that I know very well, and I can vouch for its efficiency and having kept its spirit. $10 million a year for 10 years, with the expectation that they will raise at least 10 million from other sources.
George Soros gave $100 million to Human Rights Watch. There's been a lot of criticism that Human Rights Watch can be biased and they have an agenda.
Was that him?
George Soros
raised here for 10 years with the expectation that they...
I got to get a screen. That's George Soros right there. Oh, shit. We got to get a screenshot of him.
Will raise at least 10 million from other sources.
George Soros gave $100 million to Human Rights Watch. There's been a lot of criticism that Human Rights Watch can be biased and they have an agenda. George Soros would go around the world, and if a country was not doing what he wanted, he would have this organization write reports that the country was violating human rights. He would do this as a means of blackmail to get what he wanted, allegedly. So we have some skepticism on the reporting on Russian war crimes. It just seems odd to me that in these towns so close to the capital, there was no cell phone footage of all these war crimes that allegedly happened. But there is more than just Bucha and Irpin. We have received reports that Russia is also executing Ukrainian prisoners of war. The U.S. ambassador at the United Nations said, "We now have credible information that a Russian military unit operating in the vicinity of Donetsk executed Ukrainians who were attempting to surrender rather than take them into custody." Here's a still frame from drone footage. We can see Ukrainian soldiers lying face down with their hands above their heads. A Russian soldier takes aim to shoot the 6 unarmed Ukrainian soldiers. Here's another image of Ukrainian soldiers kneeling with their hands behind their heads. A Russian soldier takes aim to shoot them. These are all grainy images from far away. It's hard to tell what is going on. We cannot even really tell if the Russian soldier shot his gun. These are clearly in combat situations, and there might be more to the story. We cannot tell if something was causing the Russians to act in self-defense. These images were also reported to us by the biased outlet Human Rights Watch. All I know is that a lot of bad things happen in war. I am betting there are a lot of atrocities on both sides of this conflict. All I know for sure is I have this crystal clear video of war crimes by Ukrainian soldiers against Russian prisoners of war. This raises critical questions for the United States. How can we support a country when we know they are committing war crimes? While Joe Biden was president, the U.S. made available $188 billion of taxpayer
Christ.
money to send to Ukraine. That is a lot of money. Since Donald Trump came into office, luckily, he has stopped any new taxpayer dollars from going to Ukraine. He is hoping that cutting off funds will pressure Ukraine into making a deal with Russia to end the war. However, American companies are still sending weapons to Ukraine. NATO countries in Europe are purchasing the
hell with
weapons from American
$188
defense
billion,
companies and then
fuck, I
sending the
imagine
weapons
they are.
to Ukraine. Under the Geneva Convention, the U.S. cannot allow their companies to send weapons to countries that they know are engaging in war crimes. Arms trafficking is regulated under the Arms Export Control Act.
You don't feel like getting up, going out, or working out? Sounds like you don't feel like much of a man anymore. It's not your fault. Most likely, you've
This
got low
dude's a fucking
testosterone.
titty baby. I tell you that. This dude's a fucking tit.
If you are a gun company, you cannot just sell weapons
There's
to any
slay
country
bag.
in the world. It has to be on an approved list. If that country is committing crimes, it needs to be taken off the list. This list of countries is basically determined at the discretion of the president. He sets the policy on which countries can get weapons. That is why it's so important when you hear the White House issue a memo about a country committing human rights violations. Those memos have real-world consequences. So, Mr. President, I am showing you convincing evidence that Ukraine is engaged in war crimes. U.S. companies should not be allowed to send any weapons to Ukraine.
This dude lives in a fucking fantasy.
If Trump stopped the flow of weapons,
Fuck you. That dude lives in a fucking fantasy. You come and attack me, I don't give a fuck about your war crimes. I just don't.
Rear Admiral Greg Rothrock. Come on, get up here. Greg. Come here, come here. He does a hell of a job. You don't want to mess with him. Don't mess around with him. Thank you very much, Greg. Fantastic. Also, your
Something
Assistant
big. Superintendent
Captain Jess Razioks. Razioks. Where is he? Where? Nice. Very nice. Thank you. Commandant of Cadets, Captain Aaron Cassavant. Hi, Aaron. How, Aaron? Command Master Chief Evan Birch. Evan, where are you, Evan? Good job up here, Evan. It's never easy, Evan, up here, right? You feel more comfortable in the water. And Class Advisor Christy Rose. Christy. Thank you, Christy. And of course, where would you be without the wonderful friends and family in the stands? And there are a lot of them here who loved and supported you, and they were with you every single step of the way, and they do love you. They do love you. Sometimes they're not.
I'm curious to find out what the fuck happened. What? Let me see if I can find any info, if they posted anything on here. I doubt they have, but by now they should know who that dude was. Let's see what they're saying.
Thanks so much for joining
I
us
could
here
have
at
sworn
11
they
on
said
John
that
Adams.
dude was white yesterday.
Tonight, we're learning about the man killed by the United States Secret Service after he opened fire at a White House security checkpoint. A bystander was also hurt, and the White House was briefly placed on lockdown.
What is that?
The fuck you think that is, lady?
A volley of shots sent reporters scrambling into the White House press room. President Trump was inside the White House at the time. We have learned the alleged gunman has been identified as Nasir Best, who officials say was known to DC police as well as the Secret Service. They say he had a documented history with law enforcement and a history of mental health concerns.
So where
This comes
did
a
this
month after
picture
he
right here come from then? Where did this right here come from yesterday? I don't know if it'll play the cover story. Hold on, let me back up.
Thanks so much for joining us here at 11. I'm John Adams. Tonight,
This
we're
picture right
learning
here,
about
where
the
did that
man
come
killed
from?
by
That's
the United
clearly a
States
white
Secret
dude.
Service after he opened fire at a White House security check.
On this one right here.
Very close to the White House, as well as the shooter involved.
Right now on Fox 5 News at 10, breaking news right outside of the White House. The Secret Service says a suspect is dead after approaching a White House checkpoint with a weapon. Law enforcement also reporting that a bystander was shot and is in critical condition. The president was inside the White House at the time, but remains safe and unharmed. And new at this hour, Fox News Digital is now just reporting a suspect identity. Let's get right out live to our Regina Ureta near the scene now with everything we know tonight. Regina, what can you tell us?
Yeah, well, Sydney, we're learning new details about the shooting that happened very close to the White House, as well as the shooter involved in this incident. Now, the scene remains active, just how you're looking at it right now. We have the Secret Service who's here on standby, as well as MPD and several patrol cars here on Pennsylvania Avenue between 18th Street and 17th Street. This is as far as we can go. You see that perimeter line securing this area. And as mentioned, just a large police presence. But let's get to.
If you look at their
Thanks so much for
if you look at their thumbnail, it had a white dude in the fucking background.
Yeah, hey, Charlie, good morning. Overnight, President Trump announced that an agreement with Iran has been largely negotiated. The president indicated there are still some details and aspects that have to be worked out, but he does anticipate there will be an announcement soon. A regional source who has reviewed the agreement told Fox News the deal states that U.S. forces will stay in the proximity of Iran 30 days. The context here is that it signals to Iran that the military option remains on the table if nuclear issues aren't resolved or the interim agreement is violated. The source added that as part of the deal, Iran will receive oil sanctions waivers. Iran will also have frozen funds and assets eventually released worth billions of dollars. On Saturday, President Trump held a call that included leaders from Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the UAE, Egypt, Jordan, Turkey, and Pakistan, aimed at reaching a broader understanding. A separate regional diplomat told Fox News the call was very positive. Good progress is being made, adding that regional leaders were supportive of the progress and of the breakthrough President Trump achieved with the talks. We are still awaiting all of the final details of the understanding, but President Trump said the Strait of Hormuz will be opened. Shortly after, Iranian state media pushed back on that aspect of his Truth Social post, saying despite some Western media reports claiming a return of the strait situation to pre-war conditions, what is included in the possible understanding is not a full return to the previous status, but rather the restoration of the transiting vessels to pre-war levels within 30 days. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said this today about the negotiations.
There is the possibility that over the next few hours, the world will get some good news, at least with regards to the straits and with regards to a process that can ultimately leave us where the president wants us to be. And that is a world that no longer has to be in fear or worry about an Iranian nuclear weapon. And so I do think there's some good news on that front, but not final news on that front.
Reports also indicate Iran's nuclear program is addressed in this first draft of an agreement, with more details to be discussed in the weeks ahead. Guys?
All right. Thank you, Trey.
Thanks, Trey.
Massive story.
Massive story.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.
Your business I think it's a bunch of bullshit. I don't think they've got
Thanks so much for joining us here at 11. I'm John.
To be honest with you, I just don't. I think it's like fucking they were saying earlier, it's just to bring down the gas prices. He's on the case. That kid's fucking fucked up for sure, man. That kid is fucked up for sure. I hate it for him, but can't blame nobody but yourself. So I take it Russia never fired off that fucking... I guess that was all bullshit, too. Just try to get everybody in fucking panic. Let's get an update on that shit, see if they got anything on that. Oh, maybe not.
All right, we have some breaking news coming in. A new footage has now emerged of Russian missile and drone strike on Kyiv. It shows missile hitting the ground, creating flashes of light and explosions with smoke rising from impact site. Air defense systems were also seen engaging projectiles across the Ukrainian capital's skyline. Now, this massive Russian strike has damaged residential buildings, offices, and schools, killing at least one person and injuring 21 others. It follows the warning by Ukraine's air forces on its Telegram channel that Russia might launch a hypersonic Oreshnik ballistic missile. This is breaking news coming in from where a new footage has now emerged of Russian missile and drone strike on Kyiv. What it shows is that the missiles were hitting the ground and creating flashes of light and explosions with smoke rising from the impact. And air defense systems were also seen engaging projectiles across the Ukrainian capital's skyline. Now, this massive Russian strike has damaged residential buildings, offices, schools, killing at least one person, and has also injured 21 others. Now, these were also reported before, where eyewitnesses have also suggested heavy explosions. This, of course, had caused flashes of light and explosions with the smoke rising from the impact sites. And air defense systems were also seen engaging in the incoming projectiles across the Ukrainian capital skyline. And now what we know is a residential building located close to the government district had shook from the explosions as dozens of people then had to take shelter in an underground metro station in central Kyiv. And what we know is the head of Kyiv City Military Administration wrote on Telegram that at least 4 locations were affected by the attack.
With YouTube Premium, watch
That's usually
ad-free
what
videos
happens,
and listen
I didn't
ad-free
really
on the
say
YouTube
much.
Music app.
Reports of a potential threat to our nation from Cuba. Axios is reporting the communist island nation is buying attack drones from Russia and Iran. So far, some 300 drones. And the communist government of Cuba recently began discussing plans to potentially use those drones to attack U.S. targets, including Guantanamo Bay and possibly Key West, Florida. Here's retired Navy SEAL Mike
They better
Sorelli.
leave them fucking homos
The
in the
drones
keys
are concerning
alone.
one by both Russia and Iran. Would Cuba make the fundamental mistake of attacking the United States? It would be their doom. For Cuba, what Trump has done is put them into a position where this regime can fall without a shot fired. We saw Maduro in Venezuela go down. Now Iran, another source of financing and material support for Cuba. They are isolated. The best scenario for them is to play ball, or they will lose this regime.
So listen to this. Cuba's foreign minister accused the United States of fabricating a, quote, fraudulent case to justify economic sanctions and potential military intervention. And this quote, Cuba neither threatens nor desires war. Here's Cuba's nightmare, though, an extreme energy crisis. Look at that. Their power grid has collapsed, triggering crippling blackouts. The Trump administration is aggressively pressuring the regime to reform and demanding the removal of foreign spy technology. And focus with me now, former Miami mayor and Cuban-American Francis Suarez. Great to have you. First of all, is it even realistic that they would hit Guantanamo Bay and other U.S. targets with those drones they bought?
it's hard to believe that even the 300 drones that they have, and I've actually seen pictures of what they look like, would have the capabilities of penetrating our air defense and actually hitting sovereign American territory. However, it's something you have to take seriously. You know that they have, and there's reports that Iranian, people have come
I gotta go,
to
y'all.
the country
I'll holler
and
at you
are
later.
teaching them on their technology.